Ted Pearson?
Yeah, Bob?
I have a bit of good news I'd like to contribute tonight.
Swell, Bob. Let's have it.
The other night I was at a dinner party up in Beverly Hills. Most everybody there knew that I have some part in these good news doings. So when the coffee was served, somebody said, Maxwell House, I hope. It was Maxwell House, Ted, and everyone agreed it was grand coffee. Yes, sir, some of the comments on its flavor would have warmed your heart.
Ah, that is good news, Bob. As a matter of fact, friends, such comments about Maxwell House coffee are being heard around more dinner and breakfast tables these days than ever before. That's because more people are now drinking Maxwell House coffee than at any time in its history. And everybody who's now enjoying Maxwell House is drinking coffee that's richer, even more delicious than ever. It's truly a better coffee. You see, Maxwell House has actually been improved in two important ways. First, the blend. This already superb blend of the world's choice coffees has now been still further enriched. You'll notice an extra smoothness and mellowness of flavor in this new Maxwell House blend. And then, a remarkable new roasting method uses radiant, penetrating heat to give each single coffee bean not just a surface roasting, but an even roasting all the way through. So you're certain to get a still more tempting cup of coffee. Tomorrow, get a pound of this new Maxwell House coffee. You'll find it now on your grocer's shelf in the same familiar blue super vacuum can you've always known. Then treat yourself to this new surprise in coffee goodness and flavor that now more than ever is coffee that's good to the last drop.
Meredith Willson now presents a Clock Rhapsody, introducing a new number, 60 Seconds Got Together.
Decided to become a minute. 60 minutes got together and they decided to become an hour. 24 hours kept ticking away, and they all voted to call it a day. But darling, in a day, there wasn't time to say how much I love you. So 7 days then got together and they decided to become a week. As they grew and grew, the 52 weeks decided to become a year. That's why 60 seconds every minute, 60 minutes every hour, every day, every week and every year. All I do is dream of you, my dear.
That was swell, Meredith. Say, where's Frank Morgan? Here's a telegram for him.
Oh, for me? Fine. How the votes are pouring in.
Oh. More votes, eh, Frank?
Oh, what else? Let me see. Morgan. Mr. Morgan, do not like your attitude toward former patrolman Philip Regan. If you do not cease and desist, you will get no votes from the coppers, bejabbers. Signed, Brooklyn Police Force. There's an informer in our midst.
Well, it serves you right, you snob. You had no reason to be high-hat with Phil Regan.
High-hat? I love the boy like my own son. I was instantly captivated by his charm. He's one of the nicest young fellows I've met in a long time. And besides, I think the little skunk sent this wire himself.
Now, you better be careful, Frank. This wire just came from New York. It's bad to have the cops against you.
Oh, a ridiculous notion, my friend. It's an old tradition of the force that when a man has once served on it, his old comrades never let him down. Never.
Are you trying to insinuate that you were once a member of the police force, Mr. Morgan?
Inspector Morgan, sir. Badge number 1147, 212th Precinct, 5th District. Served 5 years on the homicide squad, 5 years on the narcotics squad, 5 years on the vice squad, and 5 years in San Quentin. Who put that in here?
Now, just a minute, Frank. Before you start, I want you to know I'm not going to believe anything you say.
Oh, my boy, I accept your little jest in the spirit in which it's offered.
Oh, what's the use? Go ahead, Inspector. Turn on the heat.
I'm not trying to impress you, my son. The accomplishments of Commissioner Morgan have not gone... Well, I may have neglected to mention that I was elevated to that post shortly after solving the strange case of the skunk and the ventilator.
The skunk in the ventilator?
Yes, an eccentric dowager worth millions had lavished all of her affections on a pet skunk. And when the little creature disappeared one day, she was broken-hearted. They instantly sent for Morgan.
Naturally, they think of you for such a case.
Yes. I'll deal with you later. I proceeded to the house where a preliminary search had been made, not yielding any trace of the skunk, though there was strong reason to believe the animal was still on the premises.
I see what you mean. What did you do, Inspector?
Well, I cogitated over a pound of shag, formed my conclusions, and then went instantly and found the missing pet.
Well, how did you figure it out?
Well, I asked myself, Morgan, where would you go if you were a skunk? So I went there, and there he was.
Oh. In the ventilator, huh?
Yes, but it was too late. There, reposing in the ventilator shaft, right where it opened onto the street, was the poor little fellow's lifeless body.
You don't say.
Oh, yes, the fresh air had killed him. But that was only the first chapter in a fascinating mystery. The skunk's wealthy protector, anxious to pay tribute to our pet, even after his demise, ordered for him the most expensive casket ever constructed since the days of the pharaohs.
Frank, this isn't by any chance a pharaoh tale.
I can see your 2 weeks' vacation has only served to dull your wits, young. I can give you the name of the jeweler in Maiden Lane who constructed this masterpiece, entirely surrounded by flawless matched diamonds and lined with platinum and pearls. En route to its destination, this priceless bauble was stolen, and the newspapers immediately christened the case the affair of the miniature catafalque.
Miniature catafalque? What's that?
A small beer.
I'll have an old-fashioned.
Angostura?
Just a dash.
Fine. Well, I immediately suspected an international jewel thief who traveled under the alias of Cracksman Dupre. I cabled London for a list of his American hideouts. I received an immediate reply from the head of Scotland Yard, my very good friend, Sir Reginald Auckland Jerks.
Say, this is interesting. Do you mind if I listen, Frank?
Not at all. It turned out that Dupre had left the country carrying the jewels with him in dummy suitcases. And so began a chase that led me to 6 continents, 11 countries, and 85 cities in the next 4 years.
Gee, this is interesting.
Yes. Well, the trail led me first to the French Riviera, where I found Dupre ensconced in a sumptuous villa, living like a prince.
What did you do, Frank?
Well, I rented the villa next door and lived like a king. Then I settled down to watch my man. Posing as a millionaire, I chatted him with infinite patience. When Dupre went to the beach in the morning, I went to the beach, too. When he went to the bar for an aperitif before lunch, I was there, too. In fact, sometimes I was 3 or 4 aperitifs ahead of him.
Of course.
Well, what happened to the crook?
You want me to tell you what happened to Dupre?
Pray do.
Yes, well, I lost him. When I resumed the chase, the trail was somewhat cold, but I doggedly scoured the capitals of Europe and the Orient. In Cairo, I spent 8 months, disguised as a native beggar, my face stained with walnut juice, dragging myself through the streets, crying for alms.
Did you spot your quarry there?
No, but I made around $10 a day with the begging. My next move was to the Montmartre of Paris, disguised as a Apache. I became a London navvy and worked along the decks of Limehouse. Hooded in a burnous and kepi, I combed the Casbah of Algiers. The trail grew hotter, always hotter.
Say, it is kind of warm in here.
Silence! A positive clue now led me across 9,000 miles of ocean to Hankow, China. The net had tightened. Dupree could not escape me now. Picture the waterfront in old Hankow. Scurrying junks dot the harbor. But as her whistle is heard, a path is cleared for a dirty freighter carrying 12 passengers. The tugs push her to her berth. The passengers debark. But nobody notices a little Chinese coolie at the dock, leaning against the shaft of the rickshaw, chewing on a betel nut with oriental calm. Nobody notices him.
I know, Frank, it was you.
No, Meredith, it was Dupree. I didn't notice him either. Well, they never found the jewels. I gotta go, fellas. Anybody see my hat?